It's official, Samsung's next Exynos chip is finally on the way, and it's coming earlier than anyone expected. After months of rumors and leaks, the 2nm Exynos 2600 has now entered mass production ahead of schedule. And this is big news because it likely means the Galaxy S26 series, set to launch in 2026, will mark the big comeback of Samsung's in-house processors. To understand why this matters so much, we have to look back at what happened with the Exynos 2500. That chip was originally supposed to power the Galaxy S25 lineup, but Samsung ran into serious issues with its 3nm process. The yields were too low, performance wasn't consistent, and the chip simply wasn't ready. Because of that, Samsung had no choice but to drop Exynos entirely from the Galaxy S25 series and instead go all-in on Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite across every model and every region. It was the first time in years that Samsung relied 100% on Snapdragon for its flagship phones. Now, the Exynos 2500 did eventually show up later in the year with the Galaxy Z Flip 7, but by then the hype was gone, and it felt more like an afterthought than a flagship-class processor. That failure put a lot of pressure on Samsung to prove that it could still compete with TSMC and Qualcomm in the chip-making game. So what did Samsung do? It shifted all focus to the 2nm process and made sure it didn't repeat the same mistakes. And now, according to reports, the Exynos 2600 isn't just ready, it's entered mass production earlier than anyone expected. While Samsung's yields aren't quite as strong as TSMC's, they're finally good enough for Samsung to move forward with full confidence. That's why many believe the Galaxy S26 will officially bring Exynos back in a big way, but there's still the question of distribution. Traditionally, Samsung has used a split strategy, Snapdragon in markets like the US and South Korea, and Exynos in other regions. Some leaks suggest that strategy will continue, but others claim Samsung may try to expand the Exynos rollout even further this time. The truth is, the final decision hasn't been confirmed yet, and reports don't fully agree. So we'll have to wait for Samsung's official word. What we do know is that Samsung wants this chip to succeed. The company recently made a very bold move by cutting the prices of its 2nm wafers. This is a direct challenge to TSMC, which currently dominates global chip production. By offering lower costs, Samsung hopes to attract more clients and strengthen its foundry business. If the Exynos 2600 delivers on performance, it could help Samsung rebuild trust and win back contracts from major tech companies. So, what can we actually expect from the Exynos 2600? While official benchmarks aren't out yet, early reports suggest huge improvements in efficiency and raw performance compared to previous Exynos chips. Thanks to the 2nm process, we're looking at better power management, which should lead to longer battery life on Galaxy S26 phones. And the chip is expected to pack enough power to directly compete with Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. Now, let's talk about user reactions. Polls among Galaxy fans show a mixed response. About 30% of users are excited to try the new Exynos 2600, while around 50% still prefer Snapdragon, and the remaining 20% don't really care either way. This tells us that while there's some excitement, Samsung still has work to do to win back confidence after years of Exynos falling short against Snapdragon. But here's the catch. Even though the Exynos 2600 is shaping up to be impressive, the Galaxy S26 lineup itself may face another challenge: its design. Early leaks of the Galaxy S26 Edge and S26 Ultra redesigns haven't been received positively. Many fans feel the changes don't add much value and might even take away from the premium look people expect from Samsung's top-tier devices. So while the chip is exciting, the final reception will also depend on whether users like the overall design. At the end of the day, Samsung's decision to push Exynos back into the spotlight is bold. After the disappointment of the Exynos 2500, the company clearly wants to show it can compete with the best. The fact that the Exynos 2600 has entered mass production ahead of schedule shows Samsung is serious about making the Galaxy S26 series stand out in 2026 if the chip delivers. It could be one of the most important comebacks in smartphone history, but if it fails, it may force Samsung to rely on Snapdragon for even longer. For now, all eyes are on the Galaxy S26 launch, because that's when we'll finally see if the Exynos 2600 can live up to the hype.